We on? Okay.
And here comes Sheena. Good timing.
And here comes Sheena. That should have been a song.
Where did she go? There she is.
She's on a bridge, a rope
Oh,
bridge.
she's
Got that in a lounge.
Disconnecting to audio.
We'll just give her a second.
Ah, you did call from the garden. Excellent.
don't know how long the battery's going to last for.
That's a very nice backdrop. The lovely
Yeah.
roses there.
We were going to, but we remembered the girl next door's got 3 dogs.
Ah, difficult then.
Anyway, we're just about to start, and just to say, as you will know, this evening is going to focus on presence, or being present, really. And I just want to point out that being present, mindfulness, meditation, and breathing have all got mixed up in the last 3 or 4 years. Whereas, because whichever one of those you do, you experience some of the other ones. You know, if you meditate, you're going to experience some level of mindfulness, and mindfulness is often used to get into meditation, and breathing is used to keeping you there. They are different, but it's difficult to separate them. So we'll talk about all of those. Mainly, but when talk about being present, because it is the place I want you to be, because that's where the joy is. And but the other things help you get there. So sometimes you'll hear we use the word mindfulness, and that was a mistake, and sometimes it wasn't a mistake. We're meant to say it, right? So Karen, just switch the screen off, so I don't know where we're going.
Wait a minute, I'm just going to put the slides up.
No, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Only I don't see them.
They're not there yet.
It will be there in a moment.
I'm good. Okay, almost there. So let me get the main difference between mindfulness and being present. Is that mindfulness, often you'll find mindfulness can be used at any time in terms of whatever you're doing. You can be walking and be mindful, you can be in the shower and be mindful. Often being present is something that you're doing to your mind and body when you're not necessarily involved in something else. You're just trying to find that sense of, I want to be whole, I want to be my whole self all the time. I want to hear things truthfully and be able to respond to them truthfully. Where mindfulness is something you can establish during a conversation, you can establish when you're walking and so on. But they have a lot of similar things in them. They both tend to use breathing to get them to the state they want to be in. And they use the sense of meditation, which would be if you're mindfully aware of your breathing, then you're probably not aware of your thinking. So it's quiet the voice in the head, quiet the thinking down, just become aware of one thing. So I hope we don't get too confused between those words, but they are different words, they are slightly different, but they are all used on anybody who talks about any one of those particular things.
Thinking about mindful, we were on a walk along the Thames Path last weekend where this photograph in the background was taken. That's Colin's hand, and as I was taking it, he was sort of gazing into the distance and just feeling that grass. And I saw the fly that you could see on his hand, but he wasn't aware of it at all. I was waiting for it to bite him, but it didn't. Anyway, let's just remind ourselves then of the 4 sessions. So we're now in workshop 2. So as Colin said, about being present, and as he described it, you know, that's where the joy is. And this idea of awareness, I think that's also a theme of being present. If you're being present, then you are aware. You're aware of the now. We're going to talk about now, I guess, within the practices. So what you can expect from today is we have a topic for you to discuss as a group. We have a physical practice. We have a breathing practice or a breathing awareness. And we're going to finish with a guided body scan, which is going to bring awareness into every part of your body. We'll be guiding you through that. So that's what we will finish with.
We will indeed. So let's quickly review the important points for Karen and I, and for the Peaceful Way and the Peaceful Way retreats. Why do we work with people to help them cover subjects like that? It's fairly obvious that living successfully without having to fight is an attractive proposition. So you don't have to go to war with the people around you or your company. You don't have to be always in some sort of agitated state. You can be successful and not have to fight. You can be successful and calm and joyful and thinking possibility all the time. The opposite of that is you're going to attract an awful lot of stress if the only thing you ever do is argue or fight with people around you, whether it be your family or your business you work for or whatever else. We mentioned the lifespan, health span thing. I've been talking a lot about that this week to people in the coffee shop. The thing,
And on the radio.
and on the radio, yeah, we had an interview on the radio about that. The it's simple as that. It's mostly we have a sense of our lifespan, and but what we don't get is a sense of our lifespan, our health span, and generally our health span is less than our lifespan. So we'll start to get unhealthy around the ages of 55, plus or minus 5 years, and from then on, we're looking forward to our retirement as we watch our body and our mind maybe getting less and less healthy. So one of the things that was important to me is to be able to help people get every year they need out of their life, but to get every year as healthy as it's possible to be for them. So I want people to be able to get to their retirement and beyond that and be healthy. And I think it's immoral for companies to force their people into stressful situations, long hours, or working and getting emails in the middle of the night or during your holidays. It's not right, because by the time they get to their retirement age, they might not have the energy to play golf that they promised themselves or walk on the beach that they promised themselves.
And it's interesting that my current boss described that he'd just been on a holiday, having been told that he's no longer going to be employed by our company. And it's only the second time in his 8.5 years there where he's put his out of office on, and the other one was his honeymoon. And he was behaving in that way because he believed that he would be promoted into the executive team. And, you know, hard work is not the answer that gets you the success or the health or the wealth that maybe you think you deserve. So I know that Colin often, if he's picking up pictures, which each of you will know, Sheena from the retreat pictures, and Birgit and Steve, when we've done, maybe they weren't retreats in your days, Birgit, per se, but you know, the pictures of their life on people's faces when they're talking about the practice, which is often in the pub or when we're eating or at the party afterwards. You see people sort of, the grey disappearing and the colour coming into their face and their body, and that sense of energy moving. And, you know, I guess that's, for us as facilitators, is a bit of a check for us that we're working in the right space, that people are accessing what they need to take away from those different experiences.
And this bringing more life to life is extraordinary. I sit in the coffee shops around this area and watch people walking past and talking to each other, and talk to them sometimes even if I'm so if I like it. And you just don't see enough life in their life. You see that they're missing parts of life. I want to say a little bit about that later, but it's a really important point. Am I getting everything out of this life? Is the life in my body? Am I fully using that life that's in my body, which allows me to walk and talk and drink and eat? Enjoyment and happiness, we'll say these are two things. You've got to understand the difference between the two. Happiness is a fairly instant thing. It's exciting. Enjoyment is a thing that you do, a situation that you put yourself in. You've had a hard week at work. So you go out with your friends and you laugh with them, you tell stories with them, you talk about television or whatever it is your hobbies are, and you enjoy that moment. But that doesn't last for the rest of your life. Happiness is a profound thing, and you can get enjoyment is a window you can look through and actually recognize that happiness exists. But happiness itself needs to be practiced. It's in you. When you come as a child, happiness comes with you. I'm sure most of you will have recognized. When you see the baby you've got first smile, you'll realize that that smile is not exactly the same as yours. There's an authenticity about the child because it doesn't know anything else. And happiness is within it. And then little by little, we smother that happiness by telling people you've got to work hard, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. And we'll lose that happiness. And it's a hole in our body. It's almost at a level of soul that people are looking for. And sometimes they end up overeating because it's that they don't know what's the matter, but they just know they need to eat, or they overdrink, or whatever it would be, but they try to fill that hole of happiness with something else. And that's not healthy. That's not going to make you live healthier longer.
And then finally, habits and rituals. You know, we all run habits often outside of our conscious attention. So whether that's, we have a tendency to have a cup of tea at about 8 o'clock, don't we, Colin? Because that's the one that you make for me.
It's not the only thing I do.
So those habits run, and we probably brush our teeth in the same way every however many times we brush our teeth. So we do things in a pattern because our brains want to be efficient. So our brain in relation to the rest of our body is a small proportion of its sum total in terms of its weight, but it takes a third of the energy of the body. So for a fairly small organ, it uses a lot of energy. So the brain is designed to create shortcuts to help us conserve energy. And that means that then our thinking becomes sort of a click, click, whir. We don't necessarily process information. It finds something like it, and it often makes decisions based on that. So that's how habits are evolved to help us be more efficient. What we often don't challenge is whether the habits that we're running, the conscious ones and the unconscious ones, are actually helpful or hindering our development, our growth, our happiness, our sense of happiness. So we would like to share with you and discuss with you and explore with you some of the habits that might complement your current practices, or that might actually supersede or override the habits that aren't serving you, or that no longer serve you, that may have served you in the past. So obviously we have thinking habits, we also have feeling habits, and we also have physical habits. So 3 layers of habits, and many of them, you know, people who often say they're not aware until they've been videoed that even happens. So outside of our awareness, inside of our awareness, little tics and traits that we might have physically. So habits and rituals. Rituals is, I think, a nice way of thinking about, it's intentional when you have a ritual, right? You go through a ritual, there's ceremonies, cultural ceremonies and rituals that are ingrained in cultures. We've lost a lot of that, I would say, but some countries still have deep rituals and practices. So I quite like this idea of us helping us build well-being rituals that supplement the things that we may already be doing today. So we wanted to sort of start this topic by exploring with you all, you know, what does being present mean to you? And then we want to dive into a little bit about why we believe it's so important, and also how do we access the being present state or states. So as there are only 5 of us, by all means come off mute. And it's not that there's a right or a wrong answer here, but just, you know, when you hear that term being present, what does it bring up? What do you reflect and think?
I guess it's being fully focused, fully aware of what's going on around you, and fully there in the sense of your full attention is engaged.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I used to think it means that you are there with your full intention, and your mind is there. You process information, but I think I've recently come to think that it's more than that, that it actually also entails embodiment, that I'm not there with my mind, but that my body is present, and that I actually notice my reactions to interactions, for example. You know, if there is something that triggers me, for example, that I just notice there is this emotion going through my body, and that I work with this in some way, but this is just a very new thing for me. So I'm just, that never used to be part of being present for me, but it has become part of being present now.
Yeah.
That's really interesting what you say, Birgit. So you've got this idea of being present might mean that your thinking mind is clear and in this moment, and it's not jumping ahead or looking to the past. But then you described two other levels, if you like. One was, so I'm aware of how I'm feeling. So how's that being represented on the inside? And then the somatic element of that, which is, what are the feelings that I associate with that emotion that I've labeled in some way? So where does it show up in my body, and that sense of embodiment? Really nice.
Two great descriptions so far. We're just wanting Sheena's third one.
Yeah, I would go with what Steve was saying. So it's just being very aware of your current situation and being very conscious of what you're doing to fully grasp the time.
I'll just go back to Birgit's for a minute, because it's so important. What Birgit said is that you're being present with someone, your awareness is strong and you're with them, and all of a sudden your body gives you another bit of information that says, I'm angry about that. Maybe somebody upset you, maybe something they said offended you in some way, and your body responds to that. And it's really important now, as we move along this idea of being present, that we accept that, because oftentimes what we'll do is we'll get angry about that, and we'll say, no, that's not right, I'm not going to speak to you ever again, get out of my house. That might be over the top, but we respond to that, and what we're doing is we're protecting ourselves from something that that person said, and there was no need to do that. So the general thinking now is stay with that feeling, stay with that feeling and work out, where did that come from earlier on in your life, and then reframe it.
Thich Nhat Hanh has a lovely saying, sorry Birgit to interrupt, which is, take that emotion and cradle it like a baby. You don't judge that the baby's screaming and that therefore it's a bad baby. You're just with it, working through whatever is processing emotionally. And I find that analogy helpful. Well, it is an emotion. I don't have to judge whether it's good or bad that I'm feeling angry or upset. I'm just being present with that emotion. You're going to say something, Birgit?
Yeah, because I'm just toying with these things at the moment. And today I was in a situation where I'd talked with my colleagues before the defense I was attending. And we left the room, and I was a bit slower than everybody else because I always have so many things with me. So I packed my bags and the others went ahead. And I thought, well, they're leaving me here. And I just felt like, oh, that felt a bit funny in my stomach. And then I thought, well, okay, I felt that now. It's okay. Yeah. I'm an adult. I can find my own way to the, auditorium. Yeah. So no problem. And that is a situation where you could actually get a bit upset and, start telling yourself a story or creating a story around it. Oh, they don't like me, or blah, blah, whatever. Yeah. And so that was a really cool experience, but brand new for me to work this way. So, yeah.
That's a great experience, though, and you always remember that experience. And the other thing that you mentioned there, it's suddenly getting angry with that, or worse, you start to make up a story, and then you believe that narrative, and from then on you say, oh, I remember her, she did this, and I've got a story around it, and that story will prevent you going in that direction. And that mindfulness gives you the chance to feel that more powerfully in your body, and then I can do something with that. But it's on automatic, so it'll happen automatic. Now you've got to say, I've got to get this off automatic, and I've got to stay with it. That's where breathing comes in. When you're in a mindful or a state of being present, the breathing can help you stay there. So you don't get the anger, or you might get the anger, but you're able to stay in the present and talk about that situation, as opposed to you walking out the room and letting them stay in the room,
And you'll often hear people talking about this open-hearted, non-judgmental awareness, where you're not constructing those stories based on the stories that you might already have showing up in your thinking. so open-hearted and non-judgmental are often how the Buddhist religion is described and practiced, and I think, you know, they're probably a good example, that particular religion, which some of this practice comes from anyway, whether we're thinking about meditation or breathing practices, is their sort of their default, or their way of practicing, that we don't make judgments, and that we are open-hearted in the way that things show up. Like, we see a behavior, but we won't judge the person. We can make up a good story, which is they probably had a bad day, versus they were rude. It's just the way that you flip it.
I can't see what's on the screen.
Well, what it says is there are three, if you like. The first two are maybe some descriptions, and I think they've been referenced really by your own this discussion here. So this idea of the awareness and attention in this moment deliberately, okay, and then an open, active, intentional attention. And then this last statement, which
Can I just go on a bit? I can't say that, but it says without judgment, and that's really important. And the thing that you said there, Birgit, I'm not going to judge what happened. I'm going to stay in the present. I'm going to stay calm, and I'm going to work out what actually happened and what was the truth about that situation.
And that, for me, if I could just say it always used to be abstract. It always used to be a thing like, rationally, I'm telling myself, I can't judge this. I mustn't judge. And it's really hard if you just do it with your head. But once you've felt it in your body, it's really easy to let go. And I'm just talking about it because it was just like a light bulb moment for me today. So,
Okay, we better move on somewhat. So this is discussing, just before we do a couple of practices, this is discussing the benefits that we get from staying present, or it could be mindful, or it could be meditation, or wherever they're not dissimilar. So the obvious one is an increased sense of calm and relaxation. So if you can stay, if you've used your breath to get into a state of being present, and you know what your body feels like when you're present, you know how your mind feels and how your emotions are when you're present, then you're going to be relaxed, and you're not going to start up the fight or flight thing that's going to make you angry or make you defensive or make you tense. So that's a big one there, and it's a big plus, because it's going to help reduce any stress that's available to you.
And that connects really to the idea of energy. So we're going to talk in a bit about this idea of your self-regulation. Sometimes you might want to be in an up-regulated state where you're fired up and ready to go. Maybe you're going to make a big presentation or host something, or do a Viva, you know. So you might want that state of heightened energy. But the energy that comes from having a default of a calmer, regulated nervous system is that you're not wasting unnecessary energy. Because we all know if we get angry or upset, we get very tired. You know, we can feel very tired when that dissipates, because of course the chemicals in the body, the cortisol, the adrenaline, etc., pumps through our body, and then when it goes, we suddenly feel really, really tired. So by being able to regulate our emotions and our emotional state, we can have energy available to us that otherwise might be a bit like, you know, you're not using a draft excluder, right? So everything's escaping, your energy is escaping out through the cracks. So, you know, if you like, energy connects to, if we're keeping that sense of calm, then we have the right energy available to us when we actually need it.
The healthy energy, that's the thing about it. The next one is, we'll go just a little bit on acceptance. Self-acceptance is simply saying that if somebody says something that upsets you for a moment, that does something that gets you annoyed, it's accepting that, taking that in and playing with it. Notice what it feels like in your body and stay with it for a while until it disappears. If it doesn't disappear, it'll keep coming back every year. That's what I call this, the message you get in your heart, the echo in your heart, which is keep telling you to do something different. And until you reframe that message, it'll keep coming back at you. You know? So it's really important that you can find that thing out there.
we're also recognizing that it's by being present, you lessen the opportunity to feel stress, experience depression, anxiety. Chronic pain is, there's some really, really interesting research, and Birgit, you might have heard of some of that research, which has shown that when you are more present and mindful, the pain doesn't go away, but it down regulates. So it less than being in the foreground, it's more in the background when you're being present, because you know what you pay attention to, you get, right? You pay attention to that angry feeling, you get more anger. If you're paying attention to the pain, you get more pain.
And the final one there is fairly obvious. You're going to start liking yourself better. You're going to get a strong sense of who you are at the level of your soul, and that's going to create self-love, not in a selfish way, but self-love and compassion for yourself, to look after yourself, and compassion for others, because you're connecting to other people. When there's a thing is that generally says, look, information, it will always be trumped by sincerity. So when you're authentically being you and you're talking from your heart or from your soul, that will win over someone who just does a great presentation. And we knew that in all the consultancy we used to do, because we knew nothing. We were just happy about it. Let's get the first two, okay, because we're running a bit.
So we didn't know how many people were going to be here this evening, so we put 4 statements, if you like. So, and we're not going to actively, although I can now put you into a breakout. Do we do that anyway?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Tell them what we want to do first.
yeah, so taking the first 2 statements, ignore the second 2 for the moment. We are going to give you about 7 minutes in your breakout, so without us in the background, to think about those statements and discuss what they mean to you, and also then has that shown up in any experiences or situations that you've been in, and can you think of an example of that? So I'm going to stop sharing the screen a minute, and I'm going to, having reset breakout room, we're going to have one breakout room, assign automatically, create. Right, so I'm going to open the room, and then I will give you a 1-minute warning of when we're coming back, and then I'll close the room, so you'll automatically walk back into the room. So I'm opening the room
so
now.
make sure you discuss it, so everybody has a chance to think, what do I think about it? I think what they mean by that is this and that. And yes, I've got an example of when that happened to me or didn't happen to me or whatever. And
I will put in the chat the 2 statements in case you didn't make a note or don't have them. Okay, so you should have a notification now of the room, and once you accept that, so let me just pause the recording there. Nope, and then I'm just gonna grab the thing from the slide and put it in the chat.
Triggering me to wash the dishes. It's not an act that I just do to do the act. It's to make the house tidy, to clean up the kitchen, to.
So what did you find out? What did you discuss, and what did you decide on?
We got confused.
Yeah, we were a little confused what the washing dishes statement was about.
It's a beautiful statement. I know it very well. Okay.
Yeah, and it's kind of very Zen-like, and
it came from Thich Nhat Hanh. So
yeah.
So wouldn't be surprised.
Steve said that.
But we were struggling a little to understand what he meant. Sort of wash the dishes, just wash, because well, not that I do wash the dishes very often. I've got a dishwasher, but taking that as a sort of a mundane, regular task, only ever normally do such things for some sort of higher level reason, you know,
Yeah.
to make the place cleaner, to make
Yeah.
the environment better,
So
to
let me tell you what it is. Let me tell you where it comes from. It's a great, there's a whole chapter on it in one of Fitch's books. And this is all across, right across the board when it comes to being present or mindfulness. It means if you're going to wash the dishes, you wash the dishes. You don't do anything else. You don't think about anything else. You don't run around, do anything else. You don't wash the dishes to get them clean. You just wash the dishes. So yeah, with them 100% while you're washing them. And in the book, it just goes on, how many times have I washed the dishes and wished I was over there with those guys having a cup of tea? You're not with the dishes at that point. You're with those guys wanting a cup of tea. So you're split. You know, your mind and body are split. Your body lives around the corner from your mind. It's not actually all together. And the idea of mindfulness and being present is you bring all parts of your body into coherence. So you're fully present in that moment, doing that thing, you know. The worst element of it is when, and I've heard this so many times, especially about people who have a particular way of working, they'll say, I got up this morning, I was in a hurry, I cut my shower down to just 30 seconds and I ran downstairs and I had breakfast with the kids, with the family, and I reduced that. Then I had to run to the train to get to work. And what they're doing is they're missing all that element of their life, being present and using the energy that the world gives them to do that. Now, it may say, well, I had to get to work on time. Yes, you did. But by doing it that way, you've just released a load of stress into your body, which will cause inflammation, which will bring a condition that you wouldn't want before you retire. So it's a case of saying, okay, if you cannot do it, just get up a little early, just take a bit longer, but you did not have your breakfast with your children. You had it, and they were in the room, but you weren't in the room with them. You're already planning your run to the train to do where you wanted to be. So being mindful means that in the practice of martial arts that each one of us practice, well, three of us practice here, is that being mindful means there's nothing else in my mind at this point. I'm just aware of everything that's happening in front of me. And I'm going to stay there because that gives me this chance to spot the nuances in the other person's body. So that's what mindfulness means. If you're sitting in the kitchen here and you're thinking of doing something out there, you are not at one with yourself.
A lot of the traditional Zen practices, whether it be flower arranging or the tea ceremony, are all rituals to help you be present, right? So it's in the ritual itself, you're experiencing the making and the drinking of the tea. You know, how often are we drinking a drink and we have no attention at all on the drink? It's just something, a fluid going in the body because we're thirsty. Whereas those rituals are as much about, it's not about creating a piece of art in the case of flower arranging or ikebana, as I think they call it. And the ritual of tea making is not about the actual creation or the drinking of the tea. It's the mindful preparation of those things that does create art. And maybe that's also true of art. So you can't create art without being in the present.
Where we fool ourselves as human beings is that we think we've always got to have a reason for doing something other than just doing it, being it. And that's what lets us down oftentimes. If you think about practice again, you think about, I'm going to practice a kata. I want to go to practice because I love practicing. I love what it does for me. I love how I feel when I'm practicing. I want all of that to happen when I'm practicing. I don't want to have to do it just because I want another grading. That means I'm not wholly working. I'm not wholly doing that kata. I've got it down. I'm only doing it because of that. And when I get that, I don't have to do that. And present means being present. Totally and absolutely a congruence between your mind, your body, your heart, your brain, and your breath, and your imagination generally as well.
We often used when we were at the consultancy, the analogy of, you know, if you're playing tennis and you're focused on the scoreboard, that's not the right place to be because you're not going to get the result that you want. You've got to be fully present in the game of the tennis that you're playing. That will impact on the score on the scoreboard, but you can't be focused on the scoreboard. I think that's another representation of that sort of
Do you have any thoughts on the second sentence? I can't even remember it now. What was the second
The
one?
life.
Mindfulness is the presence of life.
Oh, yes.
You did it for us, didn't you?
Yeah.
You explained it.
Yeah, and that is the reality of it. It's that the life we're talking about here, when we're talking about human beings, the life we're talking about is the energy of life, not the energy your muscles can generate. The energy that has pathways throughout your body, but also pathways outside of your body. So that's what we're talking about. So if you're not present, you're wasting energy that you've got access to, and therefore that's why I said earlier in a way that I might not have said it earlier, but I'm going to say it now, that research is saying that if you're not present on a typical day of what you're doing, missing the train, running, missing breakfast, not with your children, don't spend enough time here or there because you're rushing through it, trying to achieve something else. And what's interesting about that for most people is they get that day done, but they've got to do it again tomorrow because they didn't do it as well as they could have done. But the research is saying that you're losing something like 50% of the energy that's being given to you as a human being by not using it. You're just running on automatic, and that energy isn't being used. But yeah, you're saying to yourself, yeah, but I had to do that. It's all right for you, Colin, you don't go to work. It's not all right for me. I do go to work, but that's not the point. The point is I want to be happy, and I want you guys to be happy, and everybody else I know to be happy. And there'll come a time in your life you'll look back and you say, I regret not spending a bit more time with those children. I regret I didn't do that a bit more. I didn't do that. I'll regret it. Was it worth it? No, not now. This is the story, the 1 hour, 1 life story. That's what it's about. Looking back on your life and seeing if you were present all the time. We're going to do an exercise on being present, right? And we're going to do it in 2 ways. We're going to ask you to be present of breath, and then we're going to ask you to be present of body movement, and then we're going to ask you to possibly put the 2 things together and see what you can do with that, as well as a body scan coming up.
All in 10 minutes.
Yeah. Do we have a thing that says anything about it?
Yes, no.
No. Okay. So what you're just going to ask you to sit comfortably, but if you can, sit with your back straight. It's only going to be about 3 minutes. Sit with your back straight and your feet on the floor, and relax your body as much as possible, and close your eyes. And then what I want you to do is I want to take your awareness to how it feels to be sitting on that chair you're sitting on. Where is the weight you're sitting on that? And you feel your feet on the floor, and you notice where your hands are, the touch of the clothing on your body. And now I want you to take that awareness to inside of your body and become aware of your breathing. Don't try to make it into something. Don't try to make it 4, 6 breathing. Just be aware of it. Notice it coming in, notice it going out, notice how it touches parts of your body and how your body begins to change as you breathe like that. Quiet the voice in your head and just become aware of your breathing without changing it. And we're going to give you about 2 minutes now to experience that and see if you can experience stillness, silence, and being present in that particular moment. Starting now.
So opening your eyes and coming back. How did you experience those 3 minutes?
Bliss. Lovely.
Yeah, I nearly drifted off again, Karen, as I did last night.
There's a theme here.
Yeah. There's a timing of the evening.
Yeah, that's true also.
Just going into calm, just
Mm.
calming body. Yeah.
Nice. Steve, what about for you?
I didn't know it was 3 minutes. I thought it was about 30 seconds.
Mhm. Mhm.
Might have been really good. No, it wasn't. But yeah, but that is part of it, you know. But you also need to have mindfulness of your body, or present in your body as well as present with your breath. And you've also got to be alert. You know, you can't afford to be standing in front of someone who's got a sword and he's going to attack you, and you're calm, so calm, like you just fall asleep. It's not going to happen for you. You've got to be calm and alert, and that's what we're hoping to be able to achieve by doing that.
So the challenge for people often is, how do I stay with my breath? And it's often the most common thing you hear when people say, oh, I'm not the sort of person that I've never been able to meditate. And all it really is that awareness. But of course, the thinking mind is designed to think and to meander and to drag us into new thoughts and things. It's that training, for want of a better word, our awareness to stay with the breath. So in different practices, sometimes it's the breath, the attention, sometimes it's a mantra, sometimes it's a candle. So to give you something that you can focus on that calms down, settles the thinking mind.
So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just give you a couple of physical movements. Steve will know them well, he'll know them all, but there's two. And I'm going to ask you to do what you just do, get awareness, know where you're sitting and where your hands are, where your feet are. Become aware of where your body is in space. So you know where your arms are when they're moving around. You can touch your nose with your with your eyes closed, things like that. And I want you to be able to just take all your awareness now to the sensations of moving, as I am now going to show you. You cannot quite see it all. I think I'll just bring this down a bit. So my hands are here. I'm going to take my hands right and over my head and look up. And I'm going to bring them down, straight down to the heart center. And then I'm going to move them forward. Let me just show you that again. It's what you're going to go. That's it. That's what you're going to do. And you're going to be aware of the sensations that are happening in your body. You want to feel which muscles are working, which joints are working. You're really being mindful of your body and what that's doing. And if you've got any space left, feel free to put a bit of awareness onto your breath as you're doing it. But don't make your breath do anything special. Just notice that you are breathing as you're doing that exercise. Now, I want you to do that. It's very short, obviously. So do it 3 times and let's see what you get out of that. So carry on. I'll do it with you, shall I? Well done. I wasn't watching you, but I'm sure it was well done. Tell me about it. Are they?
Yeah.
Read it.
No.
How did you experience that? Did you manage to? Did you manage to do that without saying, "Oh, I don't know what I'm doing now. Do my hands go up? Do they go down? I'm not very good at this, am I? I've never been very good at this." Were you being self-judgmental? Were you trying to work out? Or first I go up, then I go this way, then I go that way? Or were you just allowing your body to move freely and effortlessly? Or somewhere in between all of them?
I think it was fairly freely.
Yeah? Who said that?
Nina.
Sheena, right. Any other? Birgit, come on, you're all soft and fluffy. But
Fluffy, I'm not. Because I don't think it was just like moving freely. It was kind of intentional.
oh yeah,
and it felt very energetic. So it wasn't kind of free, but it was kind of like lifting things and, you know, pulling things down and moving out. So it wasn't just fluffy.
no. Well, and you wouldn't expect it to be the first time you've done of that before, because, you know, you'd have to learn to get the neural pathway sorted out about what am I going to do here before you're ever going to be fully present, to be able to do it fully present. But just go on.
I've done this quite often, actually, in my home practice, my Qigong practice or so.
Yeah.
So it wasn't, the movement itself is very, very familiar to me, and it's lovely. I love coming to this movement and doing these things. So, yeah.
They're designed, exactly as you say, Birgit, you know, with any of those sort of energy practices that you look at, Qigong being an example, Tai Chi being another, and these are sort of moves that also come through a lot of the yoga asanas. They're designed with intentionality to either to energize or to center and align. So you won't be familiar necessarily, Birgit, with our sort of current practices and a particular kata that we are going to do more deeply in the final of the 4 workshops, which Colin has developed, which is you'll experience it very aligned to Qigong, because it has the components of the moving of energy and the different, you know, really getting into that somatic intelligence.
The other thing about the movement you're going to be taught by the time you get to the end of the 4, you'll be in a position to be able to practice it as a 2-minute practice every day, which will bring calmness, relaxation, and bring you to the present. But what's important to recognize, these moves have also been designed and put in because your body sends messages back to the brain just as much as the brain sends messages to the body. And these messages are telling you it's okay, telling your brain, I'm okay, I'm safe, don't worry, you don't have to get into fight or flight. I'm feeling great, you know, my hands are open, but I'm not in a fight. I'm with my heart, I'm with my breath. And that's keeping you calm, and that is keeping you in the present. And keeping you in the present with a bit of practice, you'll find have enormous impacts on your everyday life. Karen, are you all right to stay another 5 minutes? We just want to do a body scan.
So we're going to guide you into that, and you can either sit upright in this body scan, or if you'd rather lay down. It's going to be 5 or 6 minutes. And the purpose of a body scan type of awareness practice is it's been proven scientifically to do this down regulation. So it's a great way of stimulating the parasympathetic activity, which is the rest and restore and recharge part of your nervous system, to improve a sense of non-reactivity so that you're not getting heightened reactions to things, to reduce anxiety, to help reduce anxiety, improve sleep, and decrease irritability. So, of course, it doesn't come in one practice, all of those benefits, but practiced over time. You know, it's a great way of helping you do that down regulation part. So find a way to be comfortable. If you'd rather not be on camera to do that, you can turn your camera off. All you're going to have to do is listen to my voice and just experience. I'm going to be guiding you to different parts of your body, essentially, with awareness. So when you've found a comfortable position, go ahead and close your eyes. So we're going to be fairly slowly but systematically moving your attention through the different regions of your body, from the feet to the top of the head. And all you're going to be doing is observing the physical sensations as we meander through your body. So as you're sitting or lying here, begin to notice the surface that you are sitting or lying on, and what it feels like to be sitting or lying there. Noticing the sensations present in this exact moment. Noticing temperature. Noticing the points of contact with the body and the surface. Noticing the rise and fall of your abdomen. Allowing the body to rest in this position and noticing sensations as you breathe in and as you breathe out. Feeling the air move in and out of your body. Let's begin by bringing attention to the toes of your left foot. With the in-breath, noticing the sensations present or lack of sensation. And then with an out-breath, letting go of the toes and moving your attention to the bottom of the left foot, including the heel touching the floor. Noticing all the sensations present in that region of the body. Also notice how lack of sensation is something the mind can also be aware of. Move on to the top of your left foot and ankle, noticing sensation. Now moving to the lower leg, the knee, the thigh and hip on the left side of the body. Moving awareness now to the toes of the right foot, the bottom of the right foot, including the heel touching the floor. Bringing awareness to the sensations present in that part of the body. Moving on to the top of your right foot and ankle and scanning that region with awareness. Noticing sensations present or lack of sensation. Now move into the lower leg, the knee, thigh and the hip on the right side of the body. Bringing your awareness now to the pelvic region and noticing sensations present or lack of sensation. Bringing awareness to the lower back and abdomen, aware of what's there, without judgment or assessment. Simply noticing with awareness. Continuing to scan the back, the rib cage and chest. Moving now to the shoulder blades and shoulders. Noticing what is present in those regions of the body. From here, go to the fingers and the hands, the left and right together. Tuning into the fingers, the thumbs, the palms, back of the hands, wrists, noticing what's there, noticing sensations present in the hands and the fingers. Now moving awareness to the wrists, forearms, elbows, upper arms and shoulders. And noticing what sensations are present in those regions of the body. On an out breath, let go of the whole of the arms and the hands. Moving now to the neck and the throat, noticing what is there or not there. Moving on to the head and face, and scanning with awareness the jaw and the chin, the lips, the teeth and gums, roof of the mouth, tongue, the back of the throat, the teeth and the nose. Feeling the air moving in and out of the nose. Then bringing awareness to the ears, the eyes, the eyelids, eyebrows, forehead, temples and scalp, holding the whole of that region with awareness. Now, stay in the present moment with the breath flowing in and out of the body. Simply awake to whatever rises and predominates in your field of awareness at any given moment. And this may include thoughts or feelings, sensations, sounds, the breath, stillness and silence. Be with whatever comes up in the same way you were with the scan. Notice how you may tend to react to impulses, thoughts, memories and worries. Let yourself purposefully observe them without rejecting or pursuing. Practice simply seeing and letting go. Seeing and letting go. No agenda other than to be present and awake. In a moment, you'll hear the sound of the chime and move awareness from the body to the sound. As you follow the last sound to the end, gradually wiggle the toes and move the feet and stretch in whichever way you'd like. Coming back into the room, fully awake and fully present. And as we bring this practice to a close, may we be peaceful and at ease. May our hearts be soft and open. May we be safe and protected, and our bodies healthy and strong. And for all of those known and unknown to us, may they be peaceful and at ease. May their hearts be soft and open. May they be safe and protected, and their bodies healthy and strong. May the merit of this practice be for the benefit of all beings. So as you open your eyes and come back, we lost Birgit somewhere there.
I think the dog took her away.
Yeah, she does have a big puppy, apparently. How did that practice impact on your body?
Yes, I am off. Oh, God. There's all sorts of strange noises going on in the next door garden. I think they've got a problem with their boiler again. Yeah, it's just nice to concentrate and move around the body and try and release things. I was starting to get a bit of a headache, and that's disappeared now. Thought about it and I've released things.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Good. Great, thank you for sharing, Sheena. What about you, Steve?
Very relaxing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I notice when I'm teaching people physical things or mental things, but particularly physical things, that you'll ask them to relax their left shoulder or something, you know, or straighten their back, but they don't actually know where it is. Of course, they know his shoulder's there, but from the inside, they can't get connection with it so they can relax it. So by doing the body scan, you're getting access, you're starting to understand access. How do I get my mind to my toes so I can help them repair themselves when they're injured, after my heels, and get them repaired. But if you can't find access, then it's going to be difficult. So the body scan gives you that, helps you get that access to your body, and it also helps you stay in the present when you're doing something important. Birgit, did you get accosted by a big dog?
I did. It's so funny. She knows when I'm doing shavasana or anything. She'll just comes, and I'm getting the bone and a lick in the face, and then she just settles. There she is. Then she just settles on my lap and wants to sleep.
Oh.
Dogs
like
do stuff, don't they?
I was like the cat yesterday.
Yeah, I had a message, Sheena. So we had the yoga practice yesterday evening, and which I did from the garden. We had a yoga nidra relaxation at the end, quite similar actually to what we've just done, but a longer version. And one of a couple who practiced together, they were lying in their kitchen as they always do, and the cat came and just laid down on her feet, and for the whole 20 minutes of the nidra practice, that cat was just sat on her legs.
Thank you very much for being here. I've enjoyed it. I'm sorry we overran. Just one of us talked too much.
It wasn't me.
It was me, I guess.
We had one more little practice to put in, but we'll catch it up on the next one. And little by little, we'll extend that moving practice and make sure that you can be present as you're doing it. And it'd be nice try if you try that little movement thing with the awareness of your body and the awareness of your breath. It would be interesting to see if you have any revelations about things, about life in general, the next time you arrive here.
We just added some resources there, some good reference points, some of which I'm sure you know yourself. The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle, excellent book, as all of his books are, I think. The Little Book of Mindfulness, we give away sometimes in our goodie bags on our day retreats. It's a little book like this, but it's got loads of good practices in it. It's not just like pictures and quotes. It's actually a practical book, and obviously lots of books we have of Thich Nhat Hanh, but that one that Colin's reread again recently and sort of found new things in it. And then the Pause book is one that I bought about 2 years ago. It's a recent book, and it's again very practical with some really nice practices in it, and it's beautifully laid out. So certainly Birgit and Sheena, it's maybe slightly more biased towards females, not in terms of what it has in it, but just the design and look and feel of it. That's written by a woman. And then I've just listed 3 apps there, that all of which are super helpful. The Insight Timer I used to use all the time because they've got loads of free guided meditations in it by some really good, like Sharon Salzberg's on there. There's some Thich Nhat Hanh ones on there. They're free. Headspace you do have to pay for, and Calm. Again, I've used Calm's excellent for sleep stories. I think people use it mostly to help with sleep. And there's a free version of that as well. So we just thought it might be nice to remind you of some of the sources where you might discover more or play. So next week's practice is more into the breath work, and then the final practice will be the mindful movement, where we'll be less sitting and more moving. So we hope to see you next week. I know Sandra's joining us next week. We've got a couple of people who are ill at the moment with various things, so hopefully we have a slightly bigger group next week. But lovely to see you all. Thanks for joining us.
Very good. Thank you.
Very much.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you
Bye.
both. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.